Good evening, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Air Chief Marshal AP Singh discloses that Indian Air Force destroyed 5 Pakistani fighter jets, apart from hitting targets like radars, air bases and air defences during Operation Sindoor. Amidst ongoing protests in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, India asserts Pakistan must be held accountable for horrific human rights violations. US Senate to vote on Democratic and Republican plans to end shutdown, neither plan likely to pass. Hamas seeks more time to study US-sponsored peace proposal to end nearly 2-year-old conflict in Gaza. Ahead of the Indian Air Force Day on October 8th, Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh, during a press conference on Friday, lauded Operation Sindoor as the highlight of the year, emphasizing its role in forcing Pakistan to seek a ceasefire within 4 days. He detailed how the Indian Air Force decisively countered Pakistani aggression following the Pahalgam terror attack, destroying 6 fighter jets.
First thing that I must start with is Op Sindoor. So that was the highlight of this year gone by. In the aftermath of what happened in Pahalgam, we all know that we took a decision that we have to make them pay a price for whatever they have been doing, and to avenge that, killings of the innocents. Clear directive, clear mandate was given to the Indian Armed Forces, and Indian Air Force was the prime stakeholder in that, in terms of 2 major targets out of the 9 that were chosen towards terrorist camps were given to Indian Air Force to address.
Meanwhile, India has strongly condemned human rights violations in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Addressing the weekly press briefing in New Delhi, MEA spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said reports of protest and brutalities by Pakistani forces on civilians reflect Islamabad's oppressive approach and exploitation of the region's resources. He added that Pakistan must be held accountable for these violations.
We have seen reports on protests in several areas of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, including brutalities by Pakistani forces on innocent civilians. We believe that it is a natural consequence of Pakistan's oppressive approach and systemic plundering of resources from these territories, which remain under its forcible and illegal occupation. Pakistan must be held accountable for its horrific human rights violations.
On the situation in Bangladesh, MEA spokesperson said the interim government has failed to maintain law and order, often tries to shift the blame elsewhere. He urged Dhaka to introspect and launch serious investigations into extremist violence, arson, land grabs targeting the minority communities.
The interim government of Bangladesh, as you are aware, and we've spoken about it on several occasions, is unable to maintain law and order situation in the country and has this habit of routinely trying to shift the blame elsewhere. It would do well for them to introspect and conduct serious investigations into the action of local extremists committing violence, arson and land grab against the minority communities.
In other news, General Upendra Dwivedi, Chief of the Army Staff, reviewed the operational readiness in forward areas, including Bikaner military station in West Indian state of Rajasthan on Friday. During the visit, Chief of Army Staff commended the troops for their dedication, steadfast commitment to duty, effective multi-agency coordination. He highlighted the importance of technology absorption at all levels to sustain high operational readiness. He further underscored the need for seamless synergy between the armed forces, government agencies, industry, academia and society adopting a whole-of-nation approach to defence preparedness in current times. Mass protests in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir continue unabated, with demonstrators condemning state repression and demanding global intervention as the protests entered fifth consecutive day today. In the past 24 hours, Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir has witnessed significant unrest despite commencement of negotiations between Pakistan government and Jammu Kashmir Awami Action Committee. In key developments, tensions escalated after reported civilian killings, leading to angry protesters in Sahensa burning police vans and bulldozers. Protests intensified in Sahensa, where demonstrators targeted state property, setting police vehicles, bulldozers ablaze in retaliation for recent civilian deaths. Protesters have established a blockade at the Arja Bridge, disrupting movement and signalling widespread discontent towards the authorities. The town of Kotli observed a complete shutdown, with businesses and transport halted as mark of protest against the state's actions. Major areas including Azad Patan and Palandari continue to witness ongoing demonstrations, with crowds voicing their demands and grievances despite the government's negotiation attempts. The overall situation remains tense, with civil unrest persisting, the populace expressing deep resentment against state authorities in multiple PoJK regions. As soon as the morning broke, protests intensified again in PoJK. The visuals are from Jhelum Valley in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, where thousands of people are marching from Jhelum Valley towards the capital Muzaffarabad in protest against Pakistani government. Meanwhile, Pakistan Journalists Union observed Friday as Black Day after assault on journalists at the Islamabad National Press Club on Thursday. According to Pakistan media reports, the lawyers community of PoJK was staging a peaceful protest at the press club when the police attacked them. Police high-handed action at the National Press Club has sparked nationwide outrage and called for protests. Journalists' unions declared Friday a Black Day, saying the assault was a direct attack on media freedom. At a UN Human Rights Council side event titled Enforced Disappearances in Pakistan, Amplifying Voices Demanding Justice, Global Action, experts branded Pakistan a rogue state for rampant extrajudicial killing, torture and abductions. Chongshi Ye Joseph, Executive Director of Center for Human Rights and Peace, decreed the abuses as war crimes, urging UN sanctions and intervention to uphold UN Charter and Anti-Disappearance Convention.
With the coming into existence and coming into force of the Convention on the against all enforced disappearances, I think it is a very serious crime. Pakistan is becoming alarming, really becoming alarming. What we get the statistics: extrajudicial killings, torture, detention in unknown places, irrespective of who they are, and all this detention with the consent and the acquiescence of the state means that the state is becoming a rogue state.
Meanwhile, Pashtun activist Fazl-ur-Rahman Afridi revealed over 6,500 confirmed Pashtun cases, with 300 verified by the UN but ignored by Islamabad. Pashtun activist Fazl-ur-Rahman Afridi said more than 300 cases of enforced disappearances were verified and confirmed by the UN and communicated to Pakistan, but the government of Pakistan has not responded satisfactorily. Meanwhile, PoJK Khyber Sindh Baloch activist exposed Pakistan's rampant enforced disappearances, urging the UN compliance.
We submitted, through special procedures to working group on enforced disappearances, more than 300 cases, which were really, verified and confirmed by the United Nations, and then communicated to the government of Pakistan. These, missing persons are, treated really badly. They are tortured, and most of them are killed. and then these people are dumped into mass graves, by the Pakistani army. Government of Pakistan not responded in a satisfactory way, and the UN was not satisfied with the answers of Pakistan, and they are still, on the list of the United Nations Human Rights Council. They haven't dropped it, and they will continue to put pressure on Pakistan to respond.
Meanwhile, Jameel Maqsood, leader of the United Kashmir People's National Party from Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, also denounced Pakistan as a rogue state, highlighting decades of oppression, human rights violations.
Pakistan is a rogue state. It has a history of oppressing people. Pakistan did not allow its own people, its federating units. For instance, the blatant human rights violations and refusing their fundamental human rights in Balochistan, in Sindh, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in other areas, as well as in Gilgit-Baltistan and Pakistan-occupied part of Jammu and Kashmir. And now the people have realized that they are not ready to live with Pakistan. And the major aspiration and vision will of the people in all these regions are to reunite with the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Moving on, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said India is moving towards becoming global manufacturing hub. Addressing the Jain International Trade Organization Connect 2025 in Hyderabad, Rajnath Singh stressed that initiatives like Make in India have not only strengthened local businesses but also given Indian products global recognition.
डिफेंस सेक्टर में भी भारत सेल्फ रिलायंस की ओर तेजी से कदम आगे बढ़ा चुका है। विदेशों पर हमारी निर्भरता निरंतर कम होती जा रही है और इसी विजन को लेकर आज भारत एक सशक्त और वाइब्रेंट डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री खड़ा कर रहा है। हम अपनी सुरक्षा के लिए बहुत हद तक डिफेंस इंपोर्ट पर पहले निर्भर रहा करते थे, लेकिन आज हालत बदल रहे हैं। अब हर पुर्जे, हर हथियार, हर प्लेटफॉर्म पर गर्व से लिखा जा रहा है मेड इन इंडिया।
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman highlighted India's role as a stabilizing force in global economy while cautioning against the risk of imbalances and volatility. In her inaugural address at the 4th edition of the Kautilya Economic Conclave 2025 in New Delhi on Friday, the minister said outcomes of the conclave have not only helped us in policy making but also in holding global conferences. The G20 of 2023 stands out as a classic example.
Honorable Prime Minister has actually set the two-track in motion, one being reaching by 2047 a position where you're able to say that you're a developed country, Vikasit Bharat. If that is one of the track, the other track is how do you reach that unless you are Atmanirbhar, unless you're self-reliant.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman stressed the need to sustain the 8% GDP growth to achieve this target. She warned of unprecedented global volatility shaping the world as global economies trying to recover from uncertainty.
Global order are shifting beneath our feet. The world that emerged after the end of the Cold War, which led to the expansion of globalization, open markets, pursuit of multilateral cooperation, now appears to be a relic of the past. For 3 decades, a contested equilibrium allowed nations to pursue prosperity through integration and interdependence.
India has been honoured with the prestigious ISSA Award 2025 for outstanding social security achievements. Union Minister Mansukh Mandavia received the award in Malaysia. Dr. Mandavia said the award reflects Prime Minister Modi's vision of Antodaya, focusing on empowering the last person in the line. He highlighted India's rise in social security coverage from 19% in 2015 to over 64% in 2025, now covering over 940 million citizens. The minister also praised the eShram portal, which registered more than 300 million unorganized workers in 4 years. India secured the highest vote share in ISSA General Assembly with 30 seats, showcasing its leadership in social protection globally. Still to come on this edition of TD India Live. Russian President Vladimir Putin hails Prime Minister Modi's leadership, calls him a wise leader. Germany's Munich airport has reopened after overnight closure due to drone sightings. And Taiwan has detected Chinese military incursions.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on TD India.
Welcome back. You're watching TD India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday hailed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, calling him a wise leader. Speaking at the plenary session of the Valdai Discussion Club in Sochi, President Putin mentioned that India and Russia both share a special relationship. Putin, as quoted by Russia Today, said, "People in India do not forget about India-Russia relations." He added that some 15 years ago, both nations made an announcement about a privileged strategic partnership, and that is the best description. Russian President Putin said on Thursday that global economy would suffer without Russian oil. He was speaking at the Valdai Discussion Club, a Russian think tank and discussion forum at Sochi in southern Russia. The statement comes as US President Donald Trump has urged other nations to stop buying Russian oil in order to reduce Moscow's ability to fund its war in Ukraine. Putin warned that prices would jump to over $100 per barrel if its supplies were cut off. Germany's Munich airport has reopened after overnight closure due to drone sightings and disruptions. The incident is the latest in a string of similar aviation disruptions across Europe. Airports in Denmark, Norway, Poland have recently suspended flights over unidentified drones, while Romania and Estonia have pointed the finger at Russia, which has brushed off the allegations. Nearly 3,000 passengers were grounded as 17 departing flights were cancelled on Thursday night, while 15 arriving flights were diverted to other cities. German authorities have launched a search to identify the origin of the drones. The incident comes ahead of the final weekend of Germany's Oktoberfest, which draws hundreds and thousands of people every day to Munich. So Munich airport has reopened after drone disruption. We're joined by DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbalu from Berlin to give a perspective about Germany's preparations for such security threats. Chimbalu, tell us how European countries like Germany are preparing to handle such security threats.
Probably not. At least that's what we hear some security experts saying. And there are, of course, questions about whether Germany can deal with all the attacks because it lags behind when it comes to digital infrastructure. Now, for instance, while Germany's army does have IT experts, its tanks do run on software from 1989. And that is just one example of how weakly protected the country could be against sophisticated cyber attacks. And that's according to one security expert that DW spoke with. Now, apart from the inconvenience and panic that these attacks cause, these disruptions are, of course, also very expensive. Cyber attacks, which are increasing, have cost the economy 289 billion euros this year alone, and that's according to Bitkom, which represents companies in the digital economy in Germany. And the country is, of course, facing threats on multiple fronts. So it's not just Moscow. Fingers have also been pointed at actors in Beijing and, of course, also left-wing extremists.
Chiponda Chimbalu, thank you. The US Senate will vote again on Friday on the dueling Democratic and Republican plans to end a government shutdown, now entering its third day. though there is no sign that either plan will win passage. Lawmakers do not appear to have made any headway towards a deal that would allow them to resume government funding. Democrats and Republicans have spent the past several days blaming one another for their failure to keep the government funded beyond October 1st, the start of the fiscal year. Democrats say any funding package must also expand pandemic-era healthcare subsidies due to expire at the end of December, while Republicans say that the issue should be dealt with separately. U.S. President Donald Trump, meanwhile, has frozen billions of dollars earmarked for Democratic-leaning states and threatened to fire more federal workers on top of the 300,000 he will have forced out by the end of the year. His budget chief, Russ Vought, has asked federal agencies to draw up plans to lay off those whose work is not aligned with the administration's priorities. A prolonged shutdown could disrupt air travel, food aid for millions of Americans, force federal courts to close. Federal workers would miss their first paycheck in mid-October if the standoff is not resolved by then. The longest shutdown lasted 35 days in 2018-19 during Trump's first term in office. President Trump has warned that federal workers could be fired and projects cut if the government shutdown continues.
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault. And it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut. So you could say, a lot of people are saying Trump wanted this, that I wanted this closing, and I didn't want it. But a lot of people are saying it because I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place. And I will probably do that.
In other news, days after U.S. President Donald Trump secured Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's backing for U.S.-sponsored peace proposal to end the Gaza conflict, Hamas officials have said on Friday that the group still needs more time to study the proposed plan. Earlier, President Trump gave Hamas an ultimatum of 3 or 4 days to accept his plan to end the conflict. The plan calls for a ceasefire, the release of hostages within 72 hours, Hamas's disarmament and a gradual Israeli withdrawal from Gaza that would be followed by post-war transitional authority headed by Trump himself. World powers, including Arab and Muslim nations, have welcomed the proposal. Mohammad Nazal, a member of Hamas's political bureau, said in a statement on Friday that the plan has points of concern and we will announce our position on it soon. Sources say Hamas leaders also want international guarantees for a full Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip and guarantees that no assassination attempts will be made inside or outside the territory. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense has reported detecting 6 People's Liberation Army aircraft and 7 People's Liberation Army Navy vessels operating around the island until 6 a.m. local time, heightening concerns over Beijing's aggressive posturing. One of the aircraft sorties crossed the median line into Taiwan's southwestern air defense identification zone, prompting swift monitoring and response from the Republic of China Armed Forces. This follows Thursday's detection of 11 PLA aircraft, 8 PLA vessels, 2 official ships, underscoring a pattern of frequent incursions by China. Some updates from the world of sports. India ended day 2 of the opening test match against West Indies in a commanding position at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad on Friday. India reached 448 for 5 at stumps, stretching their lead to 286 runs after centuries from KL Rahul, Dhruv Jurel, Ravindra Jadeja and Washington Sundar remained unbeaten till the end of play after both Jurel and Rahul hit centuries. With 3 centurions and a massive lead, India are in total control. The West Indies, depleted and struggling, face a huge challenge on a difficult surface, leaving India strong favourites to seal a 1-0 series advantage in what has been a dominant display by the hosts. Returning to action at the Shanghai Masters, 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic has expressed his desire to face world number 2 Jannik Sinner in the knockout stage. 38-year-old reached the finals in Shanghai last year, but lost to Sinner in straight sets. The Serb has not played a professional match since his US Open semi-final defeat by Carlos Alcaraz. Djokovic is looking to finish the season strong after being shut out of the Grand Slams by world number 1 Alcaraz and Sinner. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.